Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be breaking down our co-main event for UFC 323. In this one, we have the flyweight champion, the cannibal, Alexandre Pantoja, making his fifth title defense against the fearless Joshua Van, who looks to be the second youngest champion in UFC history and the first fighter to be born in the 2000s to fight for a title. Before I even get to that, let me tell you how crazy that is for me seeing that, right? Joshua Van, born in 2001, and he's 24, right? This guy was born 2 years before me. That's crazy. I'm 21. He's 24. I know it don't mean much because I don't know him personally, but it's kind of crazy for me to think someone who's born in roughly my era is now fighting for a world title, and is the first person born in the 2000s to fight for a belt. It's crazy to think that, where the time goes. Plus, just the age is crazy. Pantoja's 35, Van's 24. By the time Pantoja was doing, regional fights and whatnot, Van was in school by then, like in high school or something. That is fucking crazy. But let's break down the style. Let's break down this fight. For Pantoja, you have the champion, a pressure specialist, grinder, and one of the most battle-tested fighters the division has ever seen. I mean, he is the second greatest flyweight of all time. It's not up for debate. And, if he keeps winning the way he does, I think he can surpass Demetrius Johnson. I really do. On the other side, you have Joshua Van, young, fast, dynamic striker who has been carving his way upward with confidence and a style that feels beyond his years. This matchup is fascinating, not because the fighters are similar, but because they're so drastically different. Pantoja brings chaos backed by experience. Van brings precision backed up by youth. Pantoja draws you into the deep waters and tests how badly you want to survive. Van tests whether you can handle clean, fast striking with angles and timing that forces you to respect every inch of the space. It's a meeting of textures, the rugged, gritty champion versus the sharp-edged prospect who relies on efficiency. Now, without further ado, break down their styles. Starting with Pantoja, he is the embodiment of controlled chaos. He fights like a man who genuinely enjoys the fire that others fear. Whether it's striking, clinching, scrambling, or grappling, Pantoja's greatest strength is his ability to force fights into uncomfortable, high-pressure situations that drain his opponents mentally and physically. His striking isn't built on textbook techniques. It's built on pace, angles, and relentless forward pressure. Pantoja fights with intent, always looking to close the distance and force exchanges on his terms. His punches aren't the cleanest, but they're purposeful. And one of Pantoja's best, combinations is when his opponents are backing up. He's very good at throwing the 1-2 and then same side leg kick as his opponents retreat. That's one of his best combos. Now, his grappling is where things get even more dangerous. Pantoja is one of the top 5 best grapplers in all of MMA, regardless of weight class, regardless of gender. He's top 5 pound for pound best grapplers in the sport. He doesn't need clean takedowns to find dominant position. He excels in the scrambles where the fights become about instinct rather than structure. And he'll take the back off wild exchanges you saw like with Kaya Sakura. And once he secures the hooks during a scramble, he'll use pressure from top control to force opponents into critical mistakes. And his ability to snatch the back is among the best in MMA. And once he has it, he transitions like someone who has lived in those positions for fucking decades. One of the most overlooked aspects of Pantoja's game is his durability. I mean, this guy has prime Holloway level durability. In all Pantoja's fights, all 35 of them, he's never been finished either. I mean, shoot, like Moreno, this guy survived against Deiveson Figueiredo. Honestly, the Figgy fight is the only fight he has ever been dropped, and he's fought nothing but killers. Moreno's boxing, Asakura's explosiveness, Carter France's power, Royval's unpredictability. He's survived them all, including Erstag's clean boxing. Again, he's survived all of this and has only been dropped once. He will eat a shot. He will march his opponents down and maintain pressure, even in moments when most fighters would retreat. And that durability turns into a psychological weapon, man. Because opponents feel like, no matter what they do, this guy's just going to come after you, man. And finally, for this matchup specifically, Pantoja's experience against elite competition give him that technical awareness that cannot be manufactured through training alone. He understands how to win rounds, to steal the moments, and how to change gears when the fight demands it. His cardio may not be the best, but he is so good at fighting through exhaustion. Not DDP levels of exhaustion, but very good at fighting through exhaustion. Now, looking at Joshua Van, he represents a new wave of flyweight talent. Sharp, fast, fluid, and fundamentally sound. Where Pantoja thrives in chaos, Van thrives in clarity. His game is built around clean striking mechanics, calculated movement, and a composure you don't really see many guys of his age have. Van's boxing is one of the best in the division. Actually, he might be the best. Actually, I think he's the best boxer in the flyweight division. He throws crisp combinations and very good at throwing body head combos, whether it's left hook to the body or to the head, right hook to the body, and then finish it off with another hook or a cross. He maintains a balance that keeps him ready to counter any moments. You've seen it as the fight goes on. He'll start to like pull back and then come back with a cross. His jab is precise. He uses both. It has a measuring tool and a scoring weapon. His right hand is composed and accurate. And he often sneaks it in the pocket during exchanges where most fighters would hesitate. What sets Van apart even more is his sense of timing. He picks his moments carefully. He doesn't rush into exchanges unless he sees an opening. He doesn't overcommit unless he knows he can avoid counters. And given his striking maturity, that stands out in the division known for frantic pacing. Van is also a pretty good wrestler. He's taken out most of his opponents. But what even makes Van even more dangerous in the grappling is that nobody's really been able to hold him down. He's fought some pretty good grapplers like Ray Saruya, Edgar Chavez, and Bruno Silva. Oh, and Cody Durden, who's a good wrestler. Durden couldn't hold him down for long. Ray Saruya failed on almost all of his takedowns attempts. I think he only got like 3 takedowns of 13 attempts, if I'm not mistaken, in a 15-minute fight. Edgar Chavez was barely able to hold Van down, if at all. And given Van's speed and reflexes that Pantoja are definitely going to need to respect. Van is dangerous in the middle of the cage, in open space, and during resets. He doesn't give fighters openings, and he's able to maintain composure while scoring effectively. Plus, you always see Van always moves forward. He never gives his opponent space. He never gives them any respect. He walks every opponent he's faced down, even if it's to his detriment. Now, that youth is a double-edged sword. It comes with improvements, but also comes with unanswered questions. Questions about whether he can handle the kind of pressure Pantoja brings, whether he can stay disciplined when dragged into the deep waters, and whether his striking can remain effective under constant fatigue. Understand, Van is a great fighter. I expect him to hold gold one day. I really do. And probably one of the biggest attributes of this fight is going to be his youth, because Van has the sort of confidence a 24-year-old is going to have. He doesn't know his own limitations. He lost to Charles Johnson last year, but since then he's racked up 5 straight wins. And he still comes in with that forward pressure style with absolutely no respect, in that belief, that self-belief that he's young, he can take whatever is dished at him, and that he can beat anybody in the world. That's definitely what's going to help him in this fight for sure. This fight is more or less control versus order. A lot of fights are. Let's be real here. A lot of fights are. Van wants order. He wants those clean exchanges, controlling the pace, and enough space to make his superior boxing technique work. He wants to pick Pantoja apart with straight shots, angle off, and force the champion to chase him with predictable entries. Pantoja wants chaos. He wants those messy exchanges, the pace fast, and the fight to take place in the kind of sequences where experience outweighs youth. He wants to force Van to react rather than dictate. And one of Pantoja's greatest abilities when it comes to grappling is his ability to harass the balance, as they would say. Like he doesn't need clean takedowns. He just needs to press his opponents against the fence, scoop up the legs, and once his opponents are kind of faulting and might fall, like say place their hand on the mat, he can snatch up the back. So for Pantoja, and in a fight like this, where both guys come forward all the time, no matter what comes after them, it's kind of going to be like a car crash in a lot of the exchanges because Van's going to move forward, Pantoja's going to move forward, and neither of them are going to have the respect to back away. So they're going to constantly come after each other for either all 25 minutes or however long the fight lasts until either of them gets a finish. The key difference here is energy demand. Van's game is effective, but Pantoja games forces inefficiencies. Van likes the structured exchanges, while Pantoja denies structure. If Van can maintain space, he can absolutely outscore Pantoja in striking moments. But maintaining that space for extended periods in time is going to be the real challenge. And honestly, I'll say this right now. This is probably my fight of the night. This is my favorite fight on the card for sure. I love Joshua Van's style. I love fighters like him who get better over time. And even then, even though Van has been known as a slow starter, he's done great to improve. I mean, you saw in his last two fights with Bruno Silva and Brandon Royval, he's done better to up his activity in that first round. And he's super talented. He's got a promising future. I guarantee you he will win or lose this fight. Or actually, even if he were to lose this fight, I think he'll touch gold one day. He's too talented not to. His striking so good, his takedown defense is so good, and his ability to learn at the rapid rate he can beat most fighters again in this division. But I don't think it's going to beat Pantoja. I'm going to go with Alexandre Pantoja. I think not so much this is too much too soon for Van. I've been thinking about that, and I don't think it's this. Van has earned this fight 100%. He beat Royval, who's the number one contender. I think Pantoja's experience, his pressure, his durability, and his grappling is just going to be too much for Van. Van has fought elite level strikers in the flyweight division, but he's not fought a single grappler to the level of Pantoja. Reyes is really good. Cody Dern's a good wrestler, but they're not to Pantoja's level, unfortunately. And I think Pantoja has one too many tools to get Van down to the ground, whether when they collide into each other as they are both pressuring. I think Pantoja can get Van down. Now, Van, I think, is going to deny a lot of the takedowns, and it has good get-up abilities. But again, I think when it comes to grappling, experience trumps all. And in that sort of situation, I think Pantoja's pace, his grappling transitions, and his ability to wear opponents down should become the defining factor in this one. So, for my prediction, I'm going to go with Alexandre Pantoja. I just think his scrambling is superior. His ability to turn the fight ugly when needed will break the structure that Van relies on. And as the rounds progress, I think Pantoja's experience and relentlessness could overwhelm Van's more technical approach. So my official prediction, I'm going to go with Alexandre Pantoja in a very hard-fought decision. I think this is going to be competitive. I think it's going to be one of the toughest fights of his career. But I'm still going to go with Pantoja and still. Well, that being said, that's been my prediction of this fight. If you like the video, like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below on who you think is going to win. But until then, stay calm, stay respectful, and enjoy the violence. I'll see you all next time.